Hello and good afternoon from Whimsical Farm in Judsonia, Arkansas. I just wanted to start you off with some brand new plants that we've got on the 18th day of April. And you can see that these are really coming along good. We're having to take them inside and outside on the cold nights. We got about another week left. My wife has done a fantastic job of taking care of these babies, and you can see there's a lot of plants that are getting ready to go out into the garden. We got peppers and tomato plants, and they are really in good shape. The containers were pretty simple. The purpose of our garden, my wife and I started this about 3 or 4 years ago, and it kind of started as a little bit of a hobby, but as the times have changed and COVID went through and we've had a lot of other big changes, we decided that we wanted to try to grow the garden for some food. So we're shooting for about 75 to 80% of our food to come from the garden, either from rabbits or chickens or eggs and the vegetables that we grow in the garden. So she's done a fantastic job getting plants ready. And now we're going to go out and look at how the garden started. You'll see a little cheap set of steps. A lot of things that we do are repurposed. These are some old concrete blocks from the old house, some old church pews that became handrails and things like that. They're good and sturdy. And on the way down, you'll see a few other things. We got a little makeshift greenhouse. It was a chicken tractor at one time, and it's going to be more of a next year thing, but we've got a good start on it. And then you'll see the entryway. I'm really proud of this. My wife did a really good job. She built some custom stones just by taking some 2x4s and laying out a nice frame and a little bit of Crisco as a release compound, and she built those really nice custom stones. They got all kinds of little rocks in them, and got a couple of garden beds, one on each side. And then the gate, and you enter into the garden. I want to talk about how this thing first started off. So we'll get over here and try to get my shadow out of the picture. When we first started this garden, it's been, like I say, about 4 years ago. We started with a big flat area that had nothing. It was just a flat area that was mowed, didn't even have good grass. And we laid down what you see, the 6 beds. And these are just built out of pressure treated lumber. And they are 4 by 10 each, 4 feet wide, 10 feet long, and 6 of them, and we laid those out. And we've learned that weeds are a big problem in the garden. You don't want to waste a lot of time pulling weeds. So this first bed you see here, it's got a few weeds, but it's should have been solarized, but we're learning as we go, and we'll do that next year. But you see these beds here, they've got a really heavy duty landscape fabric on them, and you get ready to plant your plants, all you're doing is just making a cut and plugging the plant in there, and then you don't have to deal with weeds. So let's start in the corner of the garden now that you've seen the 6 beds, and you'll see kind of how we do things to try to save money and also just make it an enjoyable hobby at the same time. First, you notice on the corner posts, we needed to build a fence that went around the garden. So my wife came up with an idea of using cattle panels. They're a really good height. And if you'll notice on the cattle panels, it comes out to 50 inches. That is the perfect height to put a grapevine. So you see the post right here coming up, and you come up to a T there, and it branches off, and there's a beautiful grapevine, and then it runs right along the top edge, and you can run 2 or 1 on the top. But anyway, there's a beautiful grapevine. And we'll back off and take another look here. You'll see laying right there, it just looks like a couple of pallets. And that's all you've got, just a couple of pallets screwed together. And you got an instant garden table, which everybody needs a good garden table when they're out working. She's got some onions cut up here, and you can see some tools laid out, and it's just a great thing to have. So as we walk around the garden, you'll see that she's added beds all the way around. This first one's got some rose bushes, and we got a little gate here, and you'll see another rose bush, Keep going around. Look at the grapevine. So these are really awesome. Now they take a little bit of time, about a good 3 or 4 years, but look at the quality of that grapevine. That's an awesome grapevine, and you can buy those here. We buy them locally. You can buy them on the internet, have them delivered to your house, and beds all the way around. So some of these still got the weeds in them. Now, you may wonder why there's so many weeds. We're showing you the progress of a garden. So a lot of these weeds and grass that you see, my wife has left in place. Look at the background here. Beautiful grapevine there. You see it running. There's another one coming to join it. Look at the clover in the background. The purpose of that is all for the bees to come. This time of the year, very important to get bees attracted. And so it's not just laziness this time, it's got a real reason. And all the way around you see garden beds. Even got a little fish tank here. This is an old stainless steel tank that I got from a place I worked at that they gave me for free. And my wife bought this filter, and look at what she's got. She's got a fish tank going, and on the end of these little plastic flowers, a string, and a little plant on the bottom of each one. So pretty amazing. And you walk around the garden. I'm just going to take you around as we go. And some more rose bushes, and she's got a little seating area she's working on here. You can see what a beautiful structure she's built. Nice little lattice work, gonna be a shade work. Look at that grapevine. See the grapevine coming off right off a cattle panel. See the cattle panel there? Comes right up, goes up, hits the structure, and then it's got a few little clamps, and it won't be long. We'll be out here sitting down in the little seated area, and there'll be grapes hanging down to feed you. We have learned that in the grape arena in Arkansas, there's very few grapes that can tolerate the heat. When it gets 100 degrees, humidity's 99.9%, you got to have muscadines. That's about the only thing that'll tolerate it, is the muscadine. So, and it just goes on and on. She's even got her own little garden area out there. I'm not going to show you everything on this particular video, but a couple other things I wanted to point out. One is this grape. The grapes are all the way around. I'll show you that first. All the way around the garden, you see the cattle panels. I'm getting ready to shoot the tomatoes here. But all the way around, there's grapevines. I think we've got 12 different grapevines, maybe even more now. And the next thing I wanted to show you is the tomatoes. Now this is a new thing for us, but we've learned a lot, and I plan on giving you some more details on this. But as you can see right now, they've got some onions in them and a few weeds. I got a dozen containers. And these are really, this is a really cool way to grow tomatoes. I'm gonna back off so you can see the whole thing. May have a little shadow here, but you've got a row, and we got 6 down one side, 6 down the other. We've got a small drip irrigation system going. We took a cattle panel and cut it out. And you've got one cattle panel on one side, one on the other, with some T-posts, simple enough. Let me film it from down here so you can see a little bit better. And then we cut another one, a piece in between. So as the tomatoes grow up, they're really going to have a good structure to be able to be, you know, trained and cared for. And this thing, I'm telling you, in just a couple of weeks, it will be a jungle. We'll go into really in depth on these containers, but I can tell you this much, just a brief thing about them. You do not want to fill those up with regular old dirt. You don't want to fill them up with cheap soil from the garden store. We're going to get into that with you and explain how to make yourself some really good soil. You need a good blend for a container, and that's a whole nother topic. So let's get to the last thing in the garden. We're going to talk about some numbers too, but over here, this is one of the secret weapons that you need to have if you're going to have a garden, and that's rare bits. You see these little rare bits right here? Those little guys make Cocoa Puffs for your garden. They're happy to be in the film, and they make rabbit manure that is not like chicken manure. It has more nitrogen, more potash, more phosphorus than a chicken does by a little bit. But the main thing is it is not hot. It is ready to go. The chicken manure can't be used right away. It has to be thrown into a composter and sit for 6 months before it's really safe. Some people throw it on and then they wonder why their plants have got problems. But if you look at these rabbits, they're making that rabbit manure. It falls in a worm bed, which is an old, just an old bucket that was for cattle to water out of, and had the bottom, cut the bottom out, and now it's full of worms that we ordered online. Worms are also very important for the garden. All of our garden beds have only been worked just minimally by hand, and we don't do any tilling, because when you till, you cut your worms to giblets. So rabbits, that's a key. If you're going to have an organic garden, a good raised bed garden, you need to have yourself some rabbits. One more thing before we end this video. I'll get to some numbers here in a minute, but you see this one is another bed of onions, and they've got some weeds in them, but we're getting ready to weed those out. And see the cattle panel and the T-post and the onions. This is going to be a whole bed of okra, and we use a Z-bass, which is makes a great big bush okra. Tons of okra. If you like fried okra, boiled okra, whatever, we're going to have a lot of it. So we look forward to working with you in the future to show you this garden. We're going to try to do it week by week so that you can enjoy it. And my wife has some numbers for me. And the garden beds, it kind of surprises you how these numbers come out, but we've got a total fenced in area is 2,860 square feet. We've got 6 center beds, 240 square feet, edge beds 160 square feet, in-ground beds 200, 9 muscadine beds 80. So we got 680 square feet of garden area, and then 27 of the containers that you saw over there, and those are 26 gallons a piece. They give you excellent area to grow stuff in. Those will all be tomatoes, and my wife's got the exact same thing. Let me give you one more little piece here. I'm at 12 minutes, so I think we'll be safe on the video. You see a nice archway. Look what just happens to be hanging over the archway, and a brand new little birdhouse. That's for, I think, a finch or something, but boy, it's a nice one. It's got a little air conditioner, everything in it. And so you go out back, and she has the same thing I've got up front. She's got the containers out here, and right now they're containers full of weeds for the bees, and she'll rip all that out and plug those new plants in, and it'll go like crazy. So this is where we live, Judsonia, Arkansas, Whimsical Farm. And we want to tell you thank you for taking a few minutes to look at our video and see a lot of work that we've done. It may not look like a whole lot, but when you get ready to do it, it takes quite a bit of time, but it's very therapeutic. You see the rock work my wife did here, just beautiful rocks. She's very strong, very smart. She's a good wife to have, and she's done so much in this garden. Archways, look at the archway there. That thing is going to be covered with roses and grapes. You're seeing this garden in its barest fashion right now, almost nothing growing except for weeds. And like I say, week by week, you're going to see it bloom. So we'll bring you back out here next week and see y'all again. Thank you very much for watching. We want to thank you from Whimsical Farm, and please click the like and the subscribe. Costs you nothing, but it'll help us out a lot. We're trying to get this thing rolling, and we appreciate everybody watching. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.